Today's show is sponsored by our friends at Orca Coolers. And what is cooler than having a Georgia National Championship tumbler? Zeke was all over this. Well, he wasn't until I told him. I actually got him one for his 40th birthday. But they have these tumblers. They're awesome. They're going to keep your drink cold, keep them warm, and you can celebrate a Georgia win. If you use code DADSEASON, they will give you 20% off your order. That is for everything. That is the roto-molded coolers, the tumblers, it's the whiskey barrel tumblers, everything they have at orcacoolers.com. Use code DADSEASON. It's Dad Season all year round, and you will get 20% off your order. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends at Action 24/7. If you want action, get in on the action with Action 24/7. Tennessee's only sportsbook by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. There's so much going on. NBA's going on. You can parlay with the NBA. If you bet $50 on a parlay, it will give you $25 back if it doesn't hit. All sorts of parlays on the NHL this week. There's something going on in Australia this week, except if you're Novak Djokovic. But if you bet $30 on tennis, you'll automatically get a $20 free bet to use during the match. There's table tennis bets again this week, a deposit boost on a Saturday. They moved the typical Friday boost to Saturday in celebration of the Titans divisional round playoff game. And then on Sunday, there's a parlay. You get a risk-free up to $50 single game parlay on the Rams, Bucks, or Bills, Chiefs. And always, if you use code DADS100, it will match up to $800 of your deposit all the way up until the Super Bowl. Check out our friends at action247.com. So Zeke, I didn't want this to be the 40th show. We are recording these before you are 40 because you are going to have your kids all weekend. We will eventually put these out after you're 40. I was interested in what philosophical things might be on your mind. Like, do you look at the world a different way now that you're 40 opposed to, and it's just going to be a couple days, so you're not officially 40, but do you look at the world a different way at 40 than you did when you were younger, or 39? Or is it just another day?
All I know is I'm a far cry from 17, but this old dick's still long and lean.
Since it's your 40th, I will leave that in for you. I know you've been dying to have something risque, and congratulations. Happy birthday, Zeke. I will leave that in for you.
It's my newest Kid Rock quote I've been going with.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards. With me, as always, is Zeke Baker, officially in the second half of his life. He is closer to death than he was to being born. Zeke Baker, how are you, my friend?
I've always said I didn't want to be old, but I didn't know I was at the halfway point. Shit.
I was thinking about this. I was thinking about having a cold open with you and what we were going to talk about. And I was like, man, I don't think I'm going to make to 80. None of my grandparents made it to 80. And I was thinking to myself, once I hit 60, it's Andrew WK, let's get the party started. It's going to be on. My kid's going to be out. My kid's going to be an adult when I'm 60. And at that point, screw it.
I did have a, one of those subtle moments where I was 40. I'm tucking the kids in, how old will I be when they hit 40? Will I see them hit 40? Oof. I don't know.
At their age, you would be in your 80s when they hit 40.
Oh, yeah.
Or no, you wouldn't be. You'd be in your late 70s.
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah, I thought the same thing, too. But now I just did the math the right way. And
yeah.
It'd be close.
It's late. Y'all, it's 11 o'clock at night. We're not firing on all cylinders like we should. I'm just happy we're, amped. Because normally when we record this late, I have, this feeling when we're doing the editing, oh God, I don't want to release this episode. I don't want to release this episode. We sound like we sound tired. And I have those moments being the producer along with being a co-host with you. It's just tough. I'll listen to those shows and I edit them and I know it wasn't as good as it should be. And it really just gets at me. And you have that breath of fresh air, not having to listen to it over and over like I do when I'm editing and just being this show is not good. So I'm happy we're amped. I'm really happy we're amped.
Well, good deal. Hopefully we can make the most out of this Widow Jane show and not cause any widows.
How old are your parents right now?
Both born in 51.
Okay, my mom was born in 51. My dad was born in 50. My dad is turning 72 on the 31st of January.
There you go.
My mom is 70 until later on this year. So I think I'm okay to hit 70. I'm worried about like hitting 75 and above.
You never know. Just don't be the guy that banks on checking out by a certain time and gets like the term life insurance policy and then outlives the damn thing.
Oh, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to reverse mortgage my house. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. I just want to be normal. And when I go, I go.
I feel you.
It's really annoying sometimes, though, when you just nod your head and don't say anything. And then you take 30 seconds to say, I feel ya.
Well, I think you're going to jump to something. So I don't want to start like saying something and interrupt you. And then I realize, oh, damn, he wanted me to.
No, I was punting to you. It's a game of ping pong. We ping pong the ball to each other.
No, and there's also times when it's like, all right, I'm going to make a closing statement because the only thing really to do is agree. And I assume that's what you're leading up with is the changing gears or making a left or right turn. And now we're going into this part of the show. And then I'm just like, oh, damn, he wanted me to concur. Okay, I concur.
All right, changing gears, everyone. Widow Jane sent us over a couple whiskeys. They sent us over their Lucky 13 as well as their Decadence. I have good news and I have bad news to the folks at Widow Jane. The good news is Zeke has a sample of both. Now, the bottles were sent to me. I made samples for Zeke. I took a picture and put it on Instagram of the Decadence, and I have no idea where the bottle is right now. So when we get to that review, I remember tasting it that day. I remember liking it. I remember it being sweet. I do like a maple finished whiskey, although I don't have specifics. I know Zeke doesn't agree with me, and I don't have a bottle to revisit it. It's in the house somewhere. I have no idea where it is. I'm so sorry, y'all. I will do an addendum when I find this and we do another show. I will be like, hey, Zeke, guess what? I found that Decadence, and these are my tasting notes, no matter what we're reviewing.
So which dog do you think took it? I mean, I know which one I would go with based on the maple being included there.
And you're going to say Shifty no matter what. You're going to say it's Waffle, always.
Well, I never can keep up with their names. I just know one of them has really shifty eyes, and I've been scared of him since day one. But yes, I would have said Waffles would make sense to be the one to jack something with maple in it. Nice laugh. But you make the common mistake. It's not Waffles, plural. It's just Waffle, one Waffle. Oh, you're just hearing the Southern S. It's like people say Kroger's. I know, but everybody calls him Waffles. And I'm like, no, it's just Waffle. Like we are dads, plural, not dads possessive. If I was going to call him something, I'd be like Waffle Fry. He's just Waffle. He's got that waffle complexion. And then Rye's just a big old lapdog. I mean, if he's got a waffle complexion, it's like a frozen one that ain't been put in the toaster. Other people make waffles that look like that color that they actually do in a waffle iron. Your ass just buys instant waffles and enjoys them. I got a lot going on in the mornings. I ain't got time to make a waffle in a waffle maker and then clean it and then deal with it, blah, 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 and get the batter. And That's a weekend thing. It's a weekend meal. That's still a lot of time and work I ain't got. What are you doing that you're spending so much time that you don't have time to make some waffles? I mean, I've either got the kids and they don't even like that stuff to begin with. So I'm not going to make it for party of one. Or if I don't have the kids, I'm probably trying to sleep for once and then let somebody else make breakfast somewhere. All right, there, Bumbles. We are talking about Widow Jane today and the Lucky 13. It's aged 13 years in American oak, and they use the pure limestone water from the legendary Rosendale mines of New York. They use this for all of their stuff. It has to be their water. This is proof down to 93 proof. It is whiskey from 3 different sources. So they use some from Indiana, some from Kentucky, and some from Tennessee. They were all aged in small batches for 13 years and handpicked by head distiller Lisa Wicker. The reason they use those legendary limestone mines, in the case of the High Rye Lucky 13, it is proofed with limestone mineral water from Widow Jane Mine. It's a cement mine that once was used for iconic public works projects.
It's hard yet sweet mineral water is one of the signature ingredients and fingerprints of Lucky 13's character. Thank you very much, Whiskey Wash, for that information. Good stuff over there at Whiskey Wash.
Well, I thought they used that mine water for, literally the whole portfolio, right?
They do.
Isn't everything Widow Jane's going to have that in there? Because I think you missed it, but one of the chats we're in, some folks were talking about possibly doing a pick there, and that it was somewhat contingent on if they could, persuade it into being done as cash strength. And I was kind of like, man, I've heard everybody and their brother make the same pitch to them, and the line always comes back of it wouldn't be Widow Jane if it didn't have this limestone water from the specific source in it. If you want cash strength, this or that, go get it from somebody else, because if it's going to be Widow Jane, it's got to have this water in it.
The Lucky 13 releases vary in proof from 91 to 99. So this one was 93 proof, the one that we got. It begs the question, they have to use the mineral water. 91 to 99 for 13, like why proof it down that much? I would rather get it someplace from a 110 to a 116 and then let me proof it to 91 if I wanted to, or let me have it a little bit higher.
Well, even then, the fact that nothing hits 100, is there some tax difference on alcohol products in that state or something, to where it's just like a financial move to not have anything at 100 or higher? I'm all for varying proofs and tasting things and seeing where it's the best, but the fact that nothing ever gets above 100 just seems kind of odd to me. Like, why? I wouldn't say scared of the number, but why does no one ever approach it or go above it?
No idea. But for me, I'd just rather have options. I would rather have the option to proof it down than have it kind of like you can't go up. At least if you're getting something that's a little bit higher proof, and I'm not a proof chaser, but at least if I'm getting something higher up, I can proof it down to where I want it to be. I could put a cube in, I could put a little bit of water in. Like, how about a set with one of these where you could actually have a little bit of that mineral water that comes with the package, and you could proof it down if you want to. That way you're still using the iconic mineral water from their source, but you have the option to choose your own adventure kind of deal.
Yeah, that'd be a fun concept as well. Again, it just kind of throws me off of why there's nothing above the 99 mark. And it's not like we've ever said that something has to be high proof to be good, but in a business to where, consumers don't run or dictate everything, but in a way they kind of do, because they're not buying your product. You ain't keeping the lights on and paying your bills. I do think more people that are jumping on board or getting deeper into bourbon are also going after those higher proof products. It just kind of, how many times do you get passed over just simply because folks see that number like, hey, I'm not into that right now. That's not my thing. I like something a little bit higher.
And some of these say, so it's interesting. I'm looking at a couple different sources here. It says Lucky 13 is a limited release of 100 high-rise single barrels sourced from MGP, hand-selected by Widow Jane head distiller Lisa Wicker. And that's in Pace Magazine. On the bottle, it says Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana. But this is saying it's just MGP. Interesting. And it is high rye. Multiple places have said it's a high rye.
That's what I was going to ask. I even took a note when you were going through the spiel at the first one. All right, if it's a blend of different mash bills, what constitutes high rye, and how do you even get there? Because anything that's sourced from Tennessee, I can't remember mash bills worth the shit, but I'm pretty sure the Tennessee component is not a high rye one if it's in there.
And then if you look back at the Whiskey Wash, it says Lisa Wicker notes that the fine and delicate blending process consisting of straight bourbons from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana makes Lucky 13 a rich and complex expression of well-aged and absolutely not chill-filtered small batch bourbon. The resulting whiskey has a rich, wonderful mouthfeel and lingering finish. So all in all, I have to still go with the bottle. Anyways, Zeke, the MSRP is $90 for this. What did you think of Widow Jane Lucky 13?
Yeah, I think we'll see where our notes do and don't line up. Not having the bottle and just tasting it, I felt like I'd gotten at least some Tennessee components in there. I'll throw that much out ahead of time.
Yeah, the only problem I have, and I will preface our whole review with this, the minerality, I never understand when it's Widow Jane. Is that minerality the source of the whiskey, or is it their water in general?
That's the same thing I was thinking, honestly. It is quite the interesting curveball of, it's got this mineral component to it. Well, it's obviously got what I would say is a fair amount of mineral water in it. I mean, granted, I feel like the older MGP gets, the lower the proof gets, but almost inversely, if anything they have gets at a higher proof, it's the high rise.
Yeah.
Those low rise always set, sub 110, even early on, like, 8, 9, 10 year kind of stuff. But the high rise that we've seen that folks got and then let it age, past that 10-year window, it went up.
Especially if you took it off property at some point, a whole number of things. I remembered all those ones, the Smooth Ambler, the Blom Brothers, the OKIs, the Bellmeads, the Traverse City, all those big MGPs that came from that September 2006 timeframe, like September to November. We talk about that as the legendary run, and it wasn't even MGP when those were distilled. It was still LDI. We digress. We could talk about this stuff all night. I want to know what you think of the whiskey first and foremost, Mr. Baker.
So for the Widow Jane Lucky 13, I felt like the profile was pretty consistent from front to back. There were nuances, but what I was perceiving seemed to be the same no matter where it was in the tasting. I thought that there was a strong oak that comes on immediately. It didn't have too much of a Tennessee component to it in the sense of kind of the minerality and the things that go along with that oak presence you get from some of the older Tennessee stuff. Definitely get some fruit tones in there. I thought like I specifically got juicy fruit on this one. It was, secondary and underlying to that oak layer that kind of covers everything in the palate. Towards the back end, the oak has a little bit more of a bite, and kind of what we talked about earlier as far as, well, the minerality component could obviously be from the water as well, but the bite that I would assume is coming from the oak in this is definitely something that I've seen in Tennessee distillate. Not anything that I think a mineral water being added could provide, just based on the nature of the way it kind of hits the tongue. And again, some mineral tones there in the finish, as we've discussed, coming from two different angles most likely. But it wasn't off-putting, and it wasn't the the textbook Flintstones quote unquote flavor. It was more of just a well water minerality, to where if you're not used to it, obviously it tastes different, but it doesn't make you pucker up, feel funny, however you want to describe it, or whatever you got the first time you tasted that sensation. It's just a little different, but overall I thought it was good. And for a 13-year product, there's just a lot of oak in there. And obviously for a 13-year product, there's just going to be a fair amount of oak to even more in there. As we've discussed on plenty of shows before, when you take older stuff and add water to it and start to really knock off the alcohol percent, you really diminish almost everything but the oak at some point. And to me, that's just why there's such a strong presence, and that central theme throughout the tasting is what kind of sweet undertones and that juicy fruit that I picked up would have probably been there at a higher proof. It just got wiped out by the well water.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm not trying to move us along. I did get a very high rye presence, though. I think you did a very good job in laying that out. Minerality, totally got that. You could definitely tell it's a high rye, though. It's got that bite, and the bite really comes through towards like the mid back of the palate. Gets a little bit spicy in there, but you're right. Oak, I mean, for a 13-year product, especially when water is added to it, that oak is coming out. For an older product, I like it. I think overall, though, I'm very pleased to see a limited offering of 13-year whiskey for under $100 that tastes good. I think that alone, I don't want to say it makes it better, but you look at it on paper and you're already predisposed to like it based on a number of factors like that. When you taste it, how do I explain it? There's a bias going in. If the whiskey is even better than half good, that bias is going to be upheld. And when somebody says, should I get this or not? And I'm going to say, it's great whiskey for under $100. It's a great blend. Lisa did a good job. They picked good whiskey, and it's a limited offering under $100. Like, I'm sold. I'm sorry to oversimplify that, but for me, it comes down to, is it good whiskey? Yep. Is it priced good? Yep. Okay, cool.
What I wonder the most too, the fact that they've mentioned this high rye aspect to it more than once is, you got to wonder though, and I could be totally wrong, but I feel like if that proof is left kicked up a bit, if those, fruit undertones that are in there, and again, I mean, when I picked it up, it was really like juicy fruit, sweet, like, when you first bite into a stick and those, first 3 or 4 chews, you just get that rush, like, ooh, that's good. If, you don't kick it up a little bit, well, the bite that's 3/4 in, I think it's going to dial back some. The oak's obviously not going to be as strong. And then if that, sweetness is kicked up a few notches on the equalizer, whatever you want to call it, when you're looking at this, I think that's really where I would want it to be. And if the high rye and the proof make it a little hotter on the back end, that's fine. I would take the perceived heat to accompany the extra sweetness versus kind of I don't know, for some reason I always think when oak is strong and at a lower proof, to me, it just seems dull. I know it doesn't taste like Scotch, but I kind of attribute it to that in my head, just like an old curmudgeon just being kind of dull and sitting there and sipping some like 30-year-old Scotch and just loving the taste of the oak. And, I don't know.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. I mean, in no way is it vibrant. It's like those shows when you and I are dragging ass and just struggling to talk, which is probably a bad analogy for ourselves, but oh well.
We'll go with it. So final verdict. I mean, I'm a buy. I'm a buy on this. I know our final verdict doesn't really matter. We say this over and over and over. Listen to our tasting notes. If it sounds somewhat interesting, go ahead and try it at least. I would get another one of these for the price and for what you're getting out of it. My only knock on this is I wish the proof was higher. That's it.
Yeah, I'm the same. And literally, it has nothing to do with seeing the number of the proof. It's just in my mind. I got to believe that, if I'm, looking at an equalizer board or trying to mix something, I think the flavors that I want and the balance that I want, that's where it's going to be.
No, I'm 100% with you. Like, especially with this older stuff. That's why I keep saying I want to dial it in. And it's not that I'm chasing a higher proof or that I need. I mean, the proof for me on this, it might be 99.5, right? Like, it might not even be 100 proof, but I want to be able to dial it in. I know we have to trust Lisa at some point, but I just think that it's also some people like a little more oak and some people don't. Zeke and I are going to be two people that steer away from the oak. We don't mind sweet oak as much, but we're going to steer away from the oak a little bit. And that's the issue that we have, I think, when you do that lower proof of a 13-year whiskey. It's just going to amplify. Using your whole mixing board analogy, you're turning up the gain on the oak and you are turning down the pot on the sweetness.
I still wonder too about the whole 99 thing. Like, does it not seem odd to you that there's nothing at 100 or higher? There's got to be some rationale behind that.
They're big fans of 99 Luff balloons and won't go above it.
I don't even know what that means, but I'll let you roll with that one.
It's a song. It is you've heard it. It's in German. It's also known as 99 red balloons.
Yep. Still don't know it.
Go look it up. What do you think of this decadence real quick? What do you think of this decadence real quick before we get out of here?
You dodged a good Winnie the Pooh analogy there. Any rate, for the decadence, I thought that the oak per se, or the bite that hits the tongue when it first comes in, it was much more noticeable than the Lucky 13 was. I don't know what the ages of the product that went into this one are, but it definitely, like, as soon as it hit my tongue, like, ooh, that thing's it's sharp. It grabs me a little bit and bites a little harder. I felt like overall the profile still seemed to be more mineral than a fruit component. But again, by no means was there any kind of like Flintstones notion or anything along those lines. Towards the very tail end, I picked up some light fruits. And honestly, I didn't even know this was a maple product until after I'd already taken this first set of notes. And John and I were talking before we went online. And I've kind of re-nipped it a couple of times since then. I don't get a strong maple presence out of it in both profile nature as far as flavors or an increased viscosity either, which actually kind of surprises me since it's a pretty unique flavor when it's in either a bourbon or a rye product. I mean, I'm glad it's not overwhelming and overbearing, but I really don't catch it at all, even when I'm trying to say I got it in the notes, just so I sound like I know what I'm doing. I really don't pick it up hardly at all. From what you remember when you had it, did you pick up a strong maple presence at all? Because I mean, I'm not getting it hardly anything. I mean, it would be a reach for me to say I detected maple in this. I
was getting sweetness. I got sweetness. It wasn't
got sweetness in front of you right now.
I don't know, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're far apart on that one, but I will just say that I liked it. It was sweet. It went down easy. I think it's priced at about 80. This one is 91 proof. It's 10 years old, finished in Crown maple syrup barrels. It's 90 actually. It's 89.99. Probably a little bit higher for me. I would say for this one, I liked the whiskey. I didn't like the price. I also feel it comes down to a proof thing. Again, it's not them chasing proof, but if you're going to pay for a specialty finish, because these maple and the honey finishes and all that kind of stuff, they normally go for over $3. I feel like you're teetering on that line at 90 for giving a 91 proof whiskey. If you're going to have that be an LTO, give a full-fledged LTO that's at least higher proof, because I think you're going to get some people that eventually get disappointed that they don't have that higher proof.
Well, what irks me on this too, and I don't think either one of us would pick on the finishing component anymore, like some of the...
No, I like maple.
I don't care. You can finish it whatever you want. Somebody likes it, wants to buy it, and they enjoy drinking it. Who gives a rat's ass? Same as we've always said for the, all the shines and all the other stuff that are on the market. Hey, if it tastes good, go with it. I don't care. But what irks me, especially is, aged juice is becoming more and more and more of a premium and harder to find. Why take 10-year barrels and finish them? Take a 5 or a 6. Especially something like maple or honey or anything that's super viscous, a very dominant, earthy, herbal tone and flavor. People want that flavor to be part of it, obviously, or they wouldn't buy that kind of finish. But don't use 10-year barrels. We're not going to see them that much anymore. They're going away. They're hard to find. You can't buy them on the markets. You use some of the young stuff. Find a synergy there with the finished product.
You love your synergy.
10 and up, hell, even 8 and up. Just let it ride. Let it ride.
What I would say is I agree with you. I think there are brands like Penelope, Blue Note. This would be a great thing to blend with Green River or younger MGP like Penelope uses. It's not something, those MGP barrels are worth more because you could be putting out single barrels. Let's be honest. People are paying for high proof single barrels well over $100 a bottle, and you could be selling them. You basically took everything that you blended together for this that was 10 years old. You're leaving money on the table, and you can applaud them for that, for putting the best stuff in. But from a business perspective, I would look at that and say some of that younger whiskey is sweet. If you get that Green River stuff and some of the MGP stuff that we've tasted, it would be perfect to put maple or honey with those.
Oh yeah. Again, when you buy something that's a finish like this, you want that aspect of the flavoring. You use young stuff, save it. Even if, somebody may or may not think their older barrels are amazing in the market and the consumer, they see 10-year, 110-ish or higher proof Indiana on the label. Cha-ching, just start printing money.
Exactly. I kind of like this one. I wish, I don't like the price and the proof, but if you have the disposable income and you like sweet, I thought it was sweet. Zeke did not. We also know that Zeke's older and some of his body is starting to shut down already because that's what happens when you get older. But
I do still have an amazing sweet tooth and love sugars. So maybe it just wasn't sugary enough to hit my marks. I don't do pastries. I just eat sweets. Somebody's like, if I get you a cake for your birthday, you're going to eat it? I was like, the icing? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah. What if it's layered? Well, I'll eat the icing in between the layers and still throw the damn cake out.
How you are not a fat kid is beyond me.
Gym, Paleoton, hard work, dedication.
Enough about me. What do you do? Because I don't eat the icing. I'd be the person that would eat the cake and not eat the ice. I just want just enough icing to give it flavor, but I wouldn't go overboard.
Maybe that's where you're messing up. I don't know what to tell you.
And for the record, Zeke refuses to call it Peloton. He knows it's Peloton, but he calls it Paleoton because he wants me to correct him.
I couldn't say it if I had to right now. It's like trying to say Red Lobster, all you can eat shrimp. It's always going to come out scrimps.
But he started calling it Paleoton in the beginning and has not figured out how to not say that.
Yeah, the brain's stuck on it now. We're done.
Anyways, thank you, Widow Jane, for sending us these whiskeys. You can find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Twitter at Bourbon Dads, Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Please leave us an open and honest review, just like we leave open and honest reviews about the whiskey we drink. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
Good old Music City, US of A.
Cheers.
Ciao.